Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 163 of a year of change. Today we're going to revisit something we talked about yesterday briefly. I know these are normally, Mondays are days that we normally just sort of talk about, topics that sort of affect us. We've gone through just like regular stuff like childhood obesity and our history and man boobs and a bunch of other stuff. And this sort of stays with it. But it's just something that, it's happened to us a few times. And that is just sort of staying on track when we're tracking our stuff. When we're going through MyFitnessPal, it's a little easier to sort of track the calories because that's what's at the forefront. That's what we're looking at every single day. That's what we're entering in. And a lot of the stuff that sort of goes along with it, like the fat and the protein and carbs and sodium and everything else, that gets included along with it, but it generally tends to sort of get lost in the shuffle. For me anyway. I don't know about you. But, and that's just sort of what I want to talk about today is that, I've said it before that the water tracking is one thing that just sort of goes out of my head when I'm trying to go through stuff because I don't think of it. And as of late, the sodium has been doing the same thing. I'm a little more aware of it now than I was, 4 or 5 weeks ago when we first started it. And now that we've started tracking fat, that's going to be in the forefront as well. But it's very easy to get to a point where we aren't paying attention to it. And it's happened a few times when I've been going through when we were tracking stuff, and by Thursday or Friday, that's when I finally remember and go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be watching that every single day. And I know that it's sort of a week-to-week average thing, but if I'm not watching it every single day, if I go over every day for the first 4 days, then I'm over my average anyway for the week. So when we're going through MyFitnessPal, you can go into your settings on the website itself and then go to diary settings. And you can pick which nutrients you want tracked. And I've got sodium, sugar, carbs, fat, and protein, I think, right now. But you can pick all 5 of those that you want. And I would suggest doing the sodium and the fat, at least. And then whatever else you're tracking that way. And what that will do is when you put something in, and some of you may have already done this and you've noticed this, that when you put in your food, whatever it is, say it's a cheeseburger from somewhere, then it's inadvertently, or not inadvertently, it's sort of in the background, it's tracking all the other stuff that you're looking at as well. So if you get close to your goal, say we're looking at sodium, because that's still sort of the main thing, or fat, because that's what we're tracking this week. And you decide, okay, I'm going to have a piece of cake. So you put in the piece of cake. It will pop up with a little message after you enter that food in there, and it will say this has 46 grams of fat, your goal is 48 grams for the day, or whatever it is. So it will come up with that little pop-up, but it doesn't have sort of an ongoing tracking thing until you go into your nutrients to look at it. And the water does the same thing where it doesn't really sort of add in those calories. It's not at the forefront, so that's sort of fallen by the wayside. And then same thing with the sodium for the past 4 weeks. But I think it's really important for us to really keep an eye on that. And I know for some of you, you've probably been fine with it. This is mainly for me, that I have not been tracking it as well as I should be. I should be looking at it every single day, where I should be going through my calories and then probably halfway through the day, check my sodium and my fat and make sure that I'm entering all the water in there, just so that I have a complete picture. Because if we aren't tracking everything, then we're losing some of it. That didn't make any sense. You know what I mean? We're losing the big picture, I guess. And part of that is just sort of sticking with it. It's a little easier with the calories because you log in every day and you get your streak going, and it just keeps you on track. But it doesn't take very long to sort of fall by the wayside with that. And I've done it. You've probably done it. We've all done it at some point and it only takes 1 day, because when you get that streak going, and you're logged in for 30 days or 40 days or 100 days or 500 days or whatever it is, and then you miss a day, and then you've got to start all over again from that. And regardless as to the amount of progress that you've made, having that streak drop back down to 1 it's really disheartening. And for me anyway, that I'm at a stage now where I've got quite a streak going, that if I was to skip a day, I think it would be very damaging, just psychologically, just knowing that I'm back at step one and having to go through all that stuff again. And it's not that we have to start the whole diet again or that I've thrown away everything that I've done. It's just that losing that streak, it's, for me anyway, it would be one of those things that, well, screw it then. I've got to start over anyway or pick up where I left off, so I've got a free day. I can do what I want. And then sort of throw away a day's worth of, healthy eating and exercise and all the other stuff and just pig out all day. And once I start that, then I know it's only a matter of time before I have another day like that. And then another and another and another. And especially if you're tracking everything, once you stop tracking, it's not as simple usually as just saying, well, I couldn't track yesterday, so I've got to do it again today. Generally, you'll start in again, and you'll go for a couple of days, and then you forget to track again. Something comes up, and you think, well, I haven't really started in again, it should be fine. So once you hit that one day where that streak is gone, then it is really tough to get back into the tracking. And in turn, of course, then it's hard to get back into that, that lifestyle that we've sort of grown accustomed to over the past few months. I know it is for me anyway, because I've gone through this before, and it's really, the videos are helping a lot, knowing that I have to sort of stay on track. I have to do this every single day. If I stopped recording, then I probably would stop tracking and I would start gaining again and just eventually slip back into what I was doing. So it is sort of part of that accountability, but where it's a little different when you have the calories right in the forefront, because that's mainly what we've been tracking for the past 5 months. These other little nutrients, we really sort of have to go in a little bit deeper, because unless it's right in front of us, we aren't going to think about it. And it's very important that we do. You've seen the level of my salt grinder, and when I'm not paying attention and I'm not tracking accurately, it tends to go down a little bit too fast for my liking. The same thing with the fat content. If we aren't tracking accurately, then it's very easy to go over, whether it's eating candy or cake or biscuits or something. If you're looking at it going, well, I still stayed below my calorie count, but if you went 2 to 3 times what your fat content should be, then it's not really helping. So I guess the main thing, that just sort of the main point I wanted to get across was, number one, stick to it. If you do find that you've missed a day on MyFitnessPal, you can come back to it. If it's something that you've looked at it and went, well, it was a busy day, I know what I did, I could have gone back, but I missed that streak, but you didn't really fall away from what you were doing, you can get them to reset it for you. So don't use it to cheat. Don't just say, okay, well, I've logged in for 500 days in a row now. You can get them to reset your tracking. For example, at this point, you should be logging in for 163 days in a row. If something happened that at some point last week, for whatever reason, you weren't able to log in, or you went in after midnight and it broke that streak, you can get them to reset it so that you still have that streak going and get you back on track. It does make a difference when you have that, because you want to keep it going. I wouldn't recommend constantly just saying, oh, well, I can just get them to reset it, because, again, that just sort of leaves you wide open to just say, oh, I can have a cheat day and not have to log things in. But when you've been working so hard at it and real life sort of interferes, and it's happened to me before as well, when you go in and you've tracked stuff, and then for whatever reason during the day, you think, oh, I'll do it at the end of the day, and you just don't have time. Especially for those of you out there that do track this at the end of the day. Maybe you don't have a mobile device, so you go into the website at the end of the day and you track everything that way. It's going to be very easy if you skip over until midnight that you're going to break that streak. So they can reset that for you. So at this stage, you should be about 163. So you can get them to do it. Should be okay. But it's very easy to sort of slip up on that, because where we aren't thinking of things like sodium and fat all the time, we aren't entering in our sodium content, because it does everything. I know I keep going back to that. I should be focusing on fat where we're doing it this week. When we aren't really sort of entering in the fat content manually, it is a little more difficult to remember to keep track of that, to remember to look every single day and say, okay, well, I went a little bit over, so tomorrow I know I have to pay more close attention and drop that way down. So for me, it's still the hardest thing for me is going to be the sodium. My fat content is roughly where it should be. It's hovering around 25% of my diet. So I think the important thing for me is to get it to a spot where I'm actually eating the healthier fats. But the sodium thing is one thing I really need to pay attention to. And starting yesterday, when I went through, I've been adding in every little tiny scrap of salt and condiments and everything and paying really close attention, because I hate the fact that I go until Wednesday or Thursday and I go, I forgot about that. And then I go back and I look at it and I'm already well above what my average is going to be, even if I add in another 2 days of zero. So I'm sort of practice what I preach sort of thing. But unless it's right in front of us, we don't tend to really track that the way that we should be. So, and the same thing with water, which I ran into because it was the same sort of thing where it's not, I don't count them as calories, so I don't think of it. But I think it's very important if we are to get a complete picture of what we're trying to do and how our diet is and what our health is going to be like, that those are very, very important. So I know this is sort of off topic as to, people making fun of us or however we dealt with bullying as a kid or how our clothes are too tight. That our Monday topics are generally something that's a little more focused on that. But this I does think, whoa, I almost said that. This I do think does follow suit in that we've done it so many times before where we just sort of stop tracking the important stuff and then eventually we stop tracking the calories, and then we stop tracking altogether, and then we backslide into that old eating habit. And I don't want us to do that. I think that we've made enough progress now that we should be able to continue on where we're going. And even if you're in the same position as I am, and you sort of had a bad few weeks trying to remember to get that sodium going, this is still an ongoing process. And now that we're tracking, we should be tracking 4 things, really. I know I said 3 things yesterday, but we should be tracking our calories, our water, our sodium, and our fat. Those are the 4 things that we should be tracking. So as long as every day, instead of us just going, I need to put in my calories for the day, we need to track all 4 of those, then I think it's going to be much easier when we're looking at, now we have our calories, water, sodium, fat, sugar, carbs, protein, and fiber. I think those are the 6 that we're doing. And then you can go in and start tracking other stuff. Like once we get down to the nitty gritty, and probably after the year is over, you can say, well, I need to make sure I'm getting enough vitamin E and vitamin P and vitamin P and all the other letters that you need. But for right now, I think it's just sort of, it's gotten to a point, we've been doing this for 4 weeks and I still have yet to really track it properly. So this is really more for me than anybody else. So it's sort of a pep talk to myself to start tracking things properly the way that I should be. And hopefully by the end of this week, I will be on track and be able to track all 4 things that we're supposed to be tracking this week and getting it to where it needs to be. Because as you know, same thing with the calories, once you start tracking, it's much easier to get that into the zone that you need to be in. Because you can limit yourself and you can plan ahead and look at it and say, okay, well, I've already reached my goal for sodium for the day. Then the next food that I can't have a food, even if it's low calorie. I don't want to have one that's high in sodium or high in fat. Anything like that. So it does help in the long run, and it's what we should be doing. Anyway, I've had a rough 4 weeks of actually sticking to it. So back on track. Get our, things going. I was going to say something else. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, that was pretty much it. Just sort of wanted to give you a little bit of a boost. And for those of you out there that maybe you have broken through your streak, or broken through. Anyway, that you have broken your streak, but you've been sticking with it, you've been going through, and you're still, working towards that goal, you can get them to reset your streak. I wouldn't recommend doing it as sort of a cheating thing, because then it's always going to be in the back of your head. You're going, it didn't really do it. But if it's one of those things that you logged in at 12:05 and you're like, just missed it, and you lost like 70 or 90 days or something, they can reset your streak for you. So there you go. Which reminds me, I did go up and take a look at the premium for MyFitnessPal. There are a number of things in there that are interesting, but it's $12 a month or $50 a year. And for me, for I think what we're doing right now, not quite worth it yet. But there are a lot of things that you can add in there. I suppose it's the same as a gym membership if you're looking to pay for it. But there are little things in there that basically when you put in your exercise, you can tell it to not include it and like not add to your calories. But in that case, you just do the math in your head. You can get it to track a lot of your macronutrients, which is the carbs and fat and protein and stuff like that. But it does almost everything anyway. It just makes things a little easier and gives you a little more flexibility with stuff. So you can go up and take a look at it if you want. Personally, I'm not going to go after it just yet. $12 a month, I think, is a little much. And $50 a year is a little much. If it was like a one-time premium thing, like a regular app would be, when you pay for it, then I could sort of see it. I understand why they're doing a monthly thing, but that seems a little steep. So, still, the free app is very, 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 very helpful. I'm very grateful that they do have that going. So, keep on that one. If you decide to do that, that's your own decision. But as for me, not so much. Don't think so. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up as well because I did mention it yesterday and I hadn't gone through it yet. But I did go through it this morning, and there you go. You can go up and take a look at it yourself and see what's in there. For me, though, I think we're going to stay where we are with what we're doing and how we're doing things. Yeah. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. So, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.